Competitive Pokemon is notorious for its difficulties revolving around game balance. Between the broken Pokemon, way too powerful items, and ridiculous luck-based strategies, they have all plagued the competitive scene for years. And in response, Smogon and VGC, the premier formats for competitive singles and doubles respectively, use bans in order to maintain a semblance of balance. However, players may take issues with these bans on certain Pokemon, items, or even moves. Albeit, these issues are usually for dumb reasons. A popular point of contention within the competitive community about balancing is the idea of balancing the individual Pokemon items and moves and even abilities, instead of outright banning those options altogether. This would be a better option to accommodate the overall player base. Everybody can use their favorite Pokemon, or at least use the options that they themselves don't deem an issue competitively. This balancing strategy is called a complex ban, the banning of using two or more options in the same instance. If that sounded complex, that's because it is. Alright, let me use an extremely popular example instead. Take my good Uber friend Blaziken. Sadly, he's banned from Gen 6 Smogon U. The combination of Speed Boost and Sword Stance was too powerful for the format. From a tiering perspective, you can either A, ban a move, B, ban an item, C, ban an ability, or D, ban the Pokemon itself. Going in order, none of Blaziken's moves are the problem, since many Pokemon learn Sword Stance, Protect, and even Close Combat without being broken. Option B, similarly to Option A, is not the issue. Focus Sash is not a deal breaker for the OU tier. Moving to Option C, it may seem like a decent choice. However, Ninjask and Yon Mega aren't problematic for OU either, leaving only one decision: subscribing to the channel. Okay, that was a really bad joke, but I'd be super thankful if you do. Anyways, the only option left is obviously banning Blaziken. But what if you really want to keep Blaziken? Blaziken is clearly only broken through the ability Speed Boost. But if you can't ban Speed Boost altogether, what if you ban Speed Boost specifically on Blaziken? This is where complex bans come in, a solution to keep more options in the metagame by balancing the legality of combining options together. I mean, this may seem like a perfect solution. You get to keep Blaziken in the tier for its fans, and competitive players no longer have to deal with it. So why are complex bans so hated in the competitive community? Ironically, the problem is that the solution itself is too good. Let's go back to our Blaziken example. If we were to do a complex ban on Blaziken, we could obviously remove Speed Boost on Blaziken. However, there are way more options we could complex ban in the place of Speed Boost. Very easily, we could complex ban the combination of Sword Stance plus Blaziken to deny its wall-breaking capabilities. Or we could ban Blaziken from using an item at all. That way, no more surprise focus sashes to win the match. And even more scarily, there could be EV limits put on Blaziken's speed or attack. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of a complex ban, you begin to go into this rabbit hole of where do we begin the balancing and where do we end the balancing. Also, this shit is just super complicated. I mean, seriously. Even if you were to do a complex ban, since tiering is done through a community vote, also known as a suspect test, how could you possibly give all options for voting? Blaziken alone has more than 50 possible complex bans that would balance it for you. But for the OU Council, a small group of players who volunteered to run the tier, that is an insane amount of work. And going further with this logic of balancing the individual Pokemon with complex bans, what stops tiering officials or the community from making complex bans on non-bannable Pokemon? There's just too much uncertainty and possibility for bias by using this tiering system for balancing competitive Pokemon. And as stated previously, this is insanely alienating for new players. They likely will not understand the complex ruling system put in place. Banning options individually is far easier for tiering officials, simpler for newer players, and less of a headache for just about everybody involved. It's also kind of what Game Freak intended. Even though many of their decisions aren't the smartest competitively speaking, I believe in situations where it's possible, we should respect the original intentions of the game's design. Emphasize, where possible, this does not mean that KO moves are okay. Anyways, at the end of the day, if you want to use Blaziken, you'll have to use it in a tier it's allowed, rather than going through this ridiculous process of bans to keep it in a certain tier just because you wanted to. Not all Pokemon, moves, or even items and abilities are made equal, and that's okay. And I believe we shouldn't force all ways to play the game to be equal anyways.